We have all heard the propaganda, been drilled into us since the moment we first picked up a Game Boy. Video games rot your brain. Go outside. Stop trying to parry the neighbor's cat. It doesn't have iframes. For decades, the cultural narrative has been that gaming is a vice. It's something you do to procrastinate. It's a waste of time. It is the opposite of being productive. But it turns out while we were busy ignoring our responsibilities to grind rank matches until 4 a.m., we weren't just wasting time. We were actually engaging in high-level preventative medicine. I want you to picture a world where your KD ratio isn't just a number you hide from your girlfriend, but an actual medical record. A world where your doctor doesn't ask you how much alcohol you drink, but asks you if you've collected all 120 stars in Super Mario 64. Because that world is actually here. According to a massive study out of Rutgers University that dropped late last year, video games are now being looked at as a legitimate tool for early Alzheimer's detection. In fact, some tests using gaming mechanics were found to be just as effective as blood tests. That is not a joke. That is real peer-reviewed science. We are going to talk about how Call of Duty might be the only thing standing between you and a nursing home. We're going to look at the 2026 meta-analysis that proves gaming interventions actually build gray matter. And of course, because this is the gaming industry, we are also going to talk about how Ubisoft and EA will inevitably find a way to ruin this by selling us medical grade loot boxes. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Kyler Ray. Let's talk about why speedrunning might just save your life. So let's start with the heavy hitter, the one that validates my entire childhood, the Mario prescription. Now, you might have seen headlines about this over the years, but the specifics are fascinating. This goes back to a landmark study by the University of Montreal, which has been replicated and expanded upon recently. The scientists wanted to see what happens to the brain when you play 3D platformers, specifically Super Mario 64. They took a bunch of older adults, people aged 55 to 75, and they made them play Mario for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 6 months. Imagine being 70 years old. You've never touched a controller, and suddenly a scientist in a lab coat hands you a joystick and says, okay, teach this Italian plumber how to triple jump or your hippocampus withers. And that is exactly what happened. The study found that the group playing Mario saw a significant increase in gray matter in the hippocampus. For those of you who skip biology class to play Halo, the hippocampus is the part of the brain responsible for spatial memory and navigation. It acts as the brain's GPS. It helps you remember where you left your keys, where you parked your car, and how to navigate a 3D space. Crucially, the hippocampus is also the first part of the brain to get hit by Alzheimer's. When that gray matter starts to shrink, that's when the problems start. But the Mario group, their gray matter grew. They were literally weightlifting for their brains. Now here's the catch, and this is the part that hurts my soul just a little bit. The study made a very specific distinction between spatial navigation games and response learning games. Spatial navigation is Mario. You enter a level, you have to look around, you have to build a mental map of where the red coins are. And you have to remember that the bomb is on the left and the chain chomp is on the right. You are actively mapping 3D space. Response learning is different. Response learning is autopilot. When you memorize a route and do it without thinking, it's driving to work and forgetting how you got there. In gaming terms, it's Call of Duty. It's following a waypoint on a minimap in a Ubisoft open world game. The study actually suggested that players who rely entirely on response learning, just mindlessly shooting things or following a GPS arrow might actually show atrophy in the hippocampus. So if you're a camper who sits in one corner of the map waiting for enemies to walk by, not only is everyone in the lobby judging you, but science is judging you too. You aren't building a brain, you're just training your thumb to twitch. The takeaway here is that exploration is the medicine. You need to turn off the minimap. You need to get lost. Getting lost is good for you. If you know exactly where you're going, your brain goes to sleep. If you are panic rolling through a swamp in Elden Ring trying to find a bonfire, that is peak cognitive performance. But Mario is just one piece of the puzzle. If we want to talk about the sheer scale of this, we have to talk about Sea Hero Quest. A few years ago, Deutsche Telekom, specifically a team of neuroscientists, released a mobile game called Sea Hero Quest. The premise was simple. You are a sailor and you have to navigate a boat through a maze of islands and icebergs to recover your father's lost memories. It was designed to be fun, but in the background, every single move you made, every wrong turn, every hesitation was being tracked and sent to a server. They marketed it as a game, but it was actually the largest dementia study in human history. Over 4.3 million people played this game. To get that much data in a traditional lab setting would have taken over 100 years. They got it in a few months, and the data they got was wild. They established a global benchmark for human navigation. We now know exactly how well a 19-year-old from Finland should be able to navigate a boat versus a 45-year-old from Brazil. This allows doctors to spot outliers immediately. If you are 30 but you navigate like a 70-year-old, that is a massive red flag for early onset dementia, potentially years before you forget anyone's name. One of the funniest things to come out of the study, and I promise this is real, is the city effect. They found that people who grew up in rural areas were significantly better at navigation than people who grew up in cities. Why? Because cities, specifically modern cities like Chicago or New York, are grids. It's all 90-degree turns. It's simple. You don't need a brain to navigate a grid. You just count blocks. But if you grew up in the country, the roads are winding, the landmarks are random trees or weird-looking rocks, you have to actually pay attention. So essentially, living in a convenient, well-planned city makes you dumber. If you get lost in a Walmart parking lot, it's probably because you had too much urban planning in your childhood. This leads us to the Rutgers study from late 2025. They took this concept and refined it. They created a generalization task. This isn't about shooting aliens. It's about flexible thinking. The game teaches you a rule, like blue shapes are good, red shapes are bad. And then midway through, it flips the rule, or it introduces a purple shape. They found that people with early Alzheimer's struggle to adapt. They stick to the old rule. They can't generalize the new information. The researchers claim this video game test is just as accurate as the current gold standard blood test for biomarkers. A video game is basically competing with phlebotomy. I'd much rather play a puzzle game for 20 minutes than get stabbed with a needle. Now, obviously, because this is the video game industry, we cannot just have a nice thing. If gaming cures dementia, how long until the marketing teams realize they can monetize our fear of death? We are already seeing the wellness angle creep in. But imagine the future of AAA gaming if the science becomes mainstream. I can see the E3 trailer now. The lights go down. The CEO of EA walks on stage. We know you love Battlefield, but what if Battlefield loved you back? Introducing Battlefield Memory Warfare, the ibuprofen edition. They're going to start selling cognitive health as a feature. Pre-order the Ultimate Edition today for $120. It comes with the base game, the Season Pass, and an exclusive Hippocampus Boosters XP pack. Ubisoft is absolutely going to lock your long-term memory behind a paywall. Sorry you didn't grind enough daily challenges this month. You have lost access to the memory of your first pet. Please buy 500 Ray coins to unlock childhood nostalgia. Sounds like a joke, but look at the Mind Guardian app that came out of Spain recently. It's a serious medical tool, but the way it works is it analyzes you and then tells you if you are at risk. Imagine getting that notification on your phone. You're just trying to play Candy Crush on the toilet and a pop-up appears, skill issue detected, consult a neurologist immediately. That is the most aggressive get good I have ever heard in my life. We're going to see medical esports. Grandma is cranking 90s in Fortnite, not because she wants the victory royale, but because her doctor said if she drops below gold rank, she has to up her medication. It's a marketer's dream. They aren't selling fun anymore. They are selling not forgetting who you are. And honestly, I'm part of the problem. If Steam had a prevent dementia tag during the summer sale, I would probably buy every single game on that list. I wouldn't play them, I'd just add them to my backlog. But I'd feel safer. But in all seriousness, this hits close to home. I talk a big game, but I was looking for my phone the other day. I was walking around my house, tearing up the couch cushions, getting genuinely stressed out. I was holding the phone. I was using the flashlight on the phone to look for the phone. I thought, this is it. It's over. I'm cooked. It's a weird paradox that we live in. As gamers, we have these hyper-specialized brains. I can memorize a 14-hit frame perfect combo in a fighting game. I can tell you the drop rate of a rare sword in an RPG from 2004, but I cannot remember to take the chicken out of the freezer. We use 100% of our brain power to optimize builds in Elden Ring, and we leave 0% for general life maintenance. But the new science, specifically a meta-analysis from January 2026, suggests that dual tasking is the real answer. This is where the VR stuff comes in. Games like Beat Saber or Ring Fit Adventure. The studies show that when you combine physical exercise with cognitive load, moving your body while solving a puzzle, that is the nuclear option against aging. It promotes neuroplasticity better than Sudoku, better than crosswords, better than just running on a treadmill. So if you see me in the nursing home in 50 years and I'm hooked up to a VR headset, flailing my arms around to some awful dubstep track, don't feel bad for me. I'm not crazy. I'm engaging in evidence-based cognitive therapy, and I'm probably top fragging. We need to stop thinking of gaming as this sedentary, lazy activity. If you're playing the right games, complex, navigational, difficult games, You are doing more for your brain than the guy watching Netflix for 6 hours. Passive consumption is the enemy. Active engagement is the cure. So the next time someone tells you to put the controller down, you tell them you are doing it for your health. You aren't wasting time, you are building cognitive reserve. Send this video to your mom. Tell her you need a PS5 Pro for medical reasons. Tell her the doctor said you need 4K resolution at 120 frames per second, or your executive function will decline. See if it works, and for the love of God, turn off the minimap in your next game. Get lost. Frustrate yourself. Your hippocampus will thank you later. If you want to keep your brain sharp, hitting that subscribe button is legally considered a cognitive exercise. It's the easiest puzzle you'll solve all day. I'm Cyler. Stay healthy, keep grinding, and I'll see you in the next one.